Hello, welcome to the Gulf Coast Community Services Association COVID-19 Awareness Training for all staff members. Gallagher Bassett Technical Services was contracted by GCCSA administration to assist with the creation of their pandemic response and COVID-19 reoccupancy control plans. Information in this presentation is based on current knowledge, which may change as new information is gathered. The goal of the training in the GCCSA Facility Pandemic Occupancy Plan is to take the steps necessary to protect the health of all faculty, students, other staff, and visitors to the school. The Gulf Coast Community Service Association has established pandemic occupancy plans and protocols, along with a COVID-19 task force, to provide specific details of the cleaning, maintenance, and occupancy protocols that have been established for the school. This training will cover the high-level requirements and information contained in the plan. Everyone should read through the plan and bring up any questions or concerns to administration or the COVID-19 Control Plan Coordinator. Coronaviruses are a large family of viruses. Some cause mild to moderate respiratory illness, and rarely can they cause severe disease as we are experiencing now. The novel coronavirus, SARS-CoV-2, causes coronavirus disease, COVID-19. It is known as a person-to-person spread virus through the transfer of respiratory droplets that contain the virus, which happens most frequently during close contact, usually within about 6 feet. There are a wide variety of symptoms as shown here. They may appear any time from 2 to 14 days after exposure to the virus. Fever is the most well-known and used as a screening tool along with the other more serious symptoms that are the hallmark of the virus. If you or those around you are experiencing warning signs such as trouble breathing, pain or pressure in the chest, confusion, or bluish lips or face, seek emergency medical attention immediately.
Hi, I'm Dr. John Brooks with the CDC. You've probably read some recent reports about how long COVID-19 can last in the air or on surfaces. A recent study by NIH and CDC suggested that COVID can persist in the air and on surfaces for hours up to even days. Now, this was a study performed in a laboratory setting, but we don't yet know how that translates to the real world, where things are often very different. These studies are important. We're going to continue doing them, and as we learn more information about what this means to you in your home, we'll keep you informed. Let me remind you, though, how COVID-19 is transmitted. COVID-19 is transmitted primarily through respiratory droplets. That means particles that come out into the air and then settle relatively quickly. This is different than diseases like measles or tuberculosis, that when they get into the air, they can float there for a very long time. What can you do to protect yourself against COVID-19 in your home? Using disinfectants. Sure, COVID-19 comes out, it may fall onto a surface, and it could be there for a couple of hours. But the minute you use disinfectant, it's killed. Let's work together to keep ourselves healthy, our families healthy, and our communities healthy. If you want more information about COVID-19, go to www.cdc.gov/COVID-19.
The virus will be present when it is brought in by infected individuals. It is not created or growing on surfaces in the building like mold or fungus. Some infected individuals are asymptomatic and unknowingly have the potential to shed the virus to their surroundings. Positive individuals will shed the most virus during the 24-hour period prior to showing symptoms. This is why it is so important to take precautions seriously. The administration has designated a COVID-19 Control Plan Coordinator who will be responsible for responding to all general COVID-19 concerns and employee issues. The COVID-19 Control Plan Coordinator is Julie Davila, the HR Manager. All building occupants, including staff, visitors, and students, are required to comply with the provisions of the plan. This includes completing all training and instruction, participating in entry screening, and wearing face coverings in all common areas of the building, and whenever 6 feet of distance cannot be maintained between non-family personnel. Until we have a vaccine available, we must avoid exposure. This is done by washing and sanitizing your hands often, avoid touching your eyes, nose, and mouth, wearing face coverings, participating in screenings, and avoiding close contact by social distancing. We will touch on all of these measures throughout this training. Hand washing must be done before and after eating, before preparing food, after coughing, sneezing, or blowing your nose, handling your mask, or caring for someone else, including diaper changing. The image here shows how the duration of washing and using of soap increases the likelihood of removing the virus. It is always best to use soap to remove germs from your hands. It's best to use hot water, but if only cold water is available, it is better than no water at all. Hands-free soap dispensers and touchless faucets are preferred, but when that is not available and bars will be used by multiple individuals, it is better to have a pump soap dispenser. When you don't have soap or water, a hand sanitizer can be used, but it is less effective. A face covering is not a respirator, and it is not a substitute for social distancing or other hygiene or cleaning protocols. All building occupants, with the exception of infants and children under the age of 3, must wear face coverings at all time. Exceptions may need to be made for certain students as appropriate, based on individual behavioral or individual education program (IEP) requirements. Teachers and staff may consult with the administration and COVID-19 Control Plan Coordinator prior to making any exceptions. You must avoid touching the outside of your mask and wash your hands frequently. Remember that the mask is a barrier to the virus, so you don't want to touch the outside and potentially transfer the virus to your hands. It is important to wear your face covering correctly. Wash your hands before touching your mask. Make sure it reaches above your nose and below your chin and fits snugly to your face. If using homemade coverings, make sure it is not too thick and you can comfortably breathe through the mask. And make sure you wear it all times when you're in public. Our next item is screening. Screening is done both passively and actively. Passive screening is done when you check your temperature and symptoms at home before coming into work. All teachers and other staff must screen at home and enter the information utilizing the online Google's pre-screen checklist. Active screening will occur as students, parents, and other visitors enter the building. Staff who do not perform the passive screening and the checklist at home must perform active screening upon entry into the building. Follow all HISD location requirements for co-located facilities. Visual wellness checks and temperature checks should be performed throughout the day. At the start of each day, Every morning you will need to take your temperature to determine if it is greater than 100.4. If you are experiencing a temperature over 100 or any of the symptoms we talked about earlier, stay home. On entry into the building, everyone as appropriate will be asked about COVID-19 symptoms within the last 24 hours and whether anyone in their home has had COVID-19 symptoms or a positive test. Possible exposures will be documented, and staff, families, and local health officials will be immediately notified by the GCCSA COVID-19 Control Plan Coordinator of any positive case. If a student or coworker is exhibiting symptoms, the COVID-19 Control Plan Coordinator will communicate with other employees, caregivers, and local health officials as needed. For staff engaged in entry screening, surgical masks, face shields, and disposable gloves must be used as this is the point at which there is a potential for a person with COVID-19 to be present. Students or staff members who are symptomatic while entering the campus or who may develop symptoms during the school day will be separated from others right away and moved to the designated isolation area. If more than one person is in an isolation area, physical distancing will be established. Any students or staff exhibiting symptoms must wear a face covering and wait in the isolation area until they can be transported home or to a healthcare facility. Anyone that exhibits symptoms cannot return until they have met the CDC criteria to discontinue home isolation. Social distancing is a practice recommended by public health officials to stop or slow down the spread of contagious diseases. It requires the creation of physical space between individuals who may spread certain infectious diseases. The key is to minimize the number of people and maximize the space between them. The goal is to achieve space between individuals of approximately 6 feet. Color-coded floor plans have been developed for all GCCSA owned or leased facilities to illustrate designated entry and exit points, the entry screening station, hand hygiene station locations, and other occupancy requirements. Restricted areas such as playgrounds, storage areas, and kitchens are shaded in red. Rooms which have been reconfigured to maintain social distancing maximum occupancy requirements are shaded in yellow. Areas such as restrooms and personal office spaces which have been designated as single occupancy are shaded in purple. Hand hygiene stations are designated by a green dot. Blue dots indicate where appropriate COVID-19 related communication signage is located. Red arrows indicate the desired pathways of travel in corridors and hallways. Where two-way travel is required in smaller hallways, staff and visitors are reminded to proceed with caution and maintain social distancing whenever possible. All staff are required to familiarize themselves with the building plan for the facility they use and abide by any specific Houston Independent School District building occupancy requirements. Any meals or snacks provided by the GCCSA will only be consumed individually in classroom areas. Sharing of food, condiments, or utensils is prohibited. With the exception of liquids, food brought into the classroom should be individually packaged and plated for each student, and when possible, be non-perishable or food items that do not require refrigeration. Items brought by students must be dedicated Ziploc bags or other reusable food containers that can be externally cleaned. Any items brought by students must be returned home at the end of each day. For all classroom meals, a dedicated lined trash can must be provided for classroom meal debris and emptied daily. Disposable gloves must be worn when handling meal debris, trash, or other items touched by students, including toys and utensils. Teachers, aides, or assistants must wash and disinfect all non-perishable items contacted by students on a daily basis, such as toys, games, classroom utensils, and supplies. Any shared items must be disinfected between use. Wash and disinfect hands thoroughly after handling waste or other cleaning of classroom items. There may be times when you may not be wearing a mask, such as when you're eating or maybe alone in your office. When this is the case, you must cover coughs and sneezes with a tissue or use the inside of your elbow. Immediately throw tissues in the trash and wash your hands with soap and water. If soap and water are not readily available, clean your hands with a hand sanitizer. To protect yourself and others, clean frequently touched surfaces in your immediate work area daily, including desktop surfaces. Think about all the things that are frequently touched in your workspace throughout the day. Seating must be minimized in all spaces to allow for social distancing. Chairs have been removed from conference rooms and individual offices to promote social distancing. Cubicles must be single-use only. Hands must be sanitized before and after using the copier. Where wipes are available, wipe buttons and handles after each use. Shared items in employee break rooms must be discontinued. Avoid using shared appliances such as the toaster oven, microwave, coffee makers, and refrigerator. If used, sanitize your hands before use and clean all touch surfaces after use. Administrative screening personnel that will come into contact with visitors, including deliveries, must wear a face mask and gloves when they interact with others. A face shield is also recommended. Any staff providing assistance requiring touching must also wear disposable gloves and a face mask at all times. Administrative reception personnel that come into contact with visitors, including deliveries, must wear gloves when they interact with others. A face shield is also recommended. Staff providing assistance requiring touching must also wear disposable gloves. Thank you for taking this presentation. If you have any questions, please bring them to the attention of the GCCSA administration.